I hit record, and hey, we are live on one of the platforms.
We're live, and Charlie went away. That's interesting. I'm sure he'll be back in a second. Give me just a second, and let me see where he went. But I think we're going to be talking about some interesting stuff, so we'll see if you join us. Yeah, come on in. Say hi. Let us know where you're coming in from, and we'll go from there. I think Charlie should be back in just a second. There he is.
Hey, look at that!
He's back.
It just turned off.
It just went. It just went away. It just went
Yep.
away.
Hey, we're live with the ultra professional referrals while you sleep show with Zach and Charlie today, and I'm excited because we're going to go through your system on how to create webinars for your audience, and super selfish on my part because I want to go through this, and just came back from a software mastermind, met a bunch of cool people, met some people that have done this at a high level on sales, marketing. Because the thing is, we know referrals while you sleep, like it changes people's lives. And so now I'm learning how to market. How do I get people to think? I've been thinking the three things, like how do I get people to think it might work? How do I get people to think it might work for them?
Right.
How can I demonstrate that I can help them and get them to ask for more information? So that's the old Frank Kern trick there. And so I'm in your hands. Ask away.
Love it. Love it. Okay. So my process has a few different sections. And what's interesting is that there's parts of this that it's a bit meta, right? So everywhere in my marketing, I love to convince people that I can help them by actually helping them, right? Again, the old Frank Kern trick. But so I flow through a process that does a few things for me. So one, it lets me get the foundational information that I need in order to start helping someone build a webinar, right? So information about them, where they're going. Some of the foundational information is also useful for me from a sales standpoint of being able to see, am I the right person for their needs? Now, in your case, we already know that I can help you, right? Like, and we already know that I can work through this. So that's going to be less of the emphasis here. But I'm still going to flow through some of those same questions because they help me to be able to direct into the strategy portion. So we'll start there. My first step of the process is a discovery call, and we'll get some of that clear information. Normally, I'd be looking to assess if it's a good fit, but in your case, it's more about getting some of this foundational information so we can talk through strategy. And then the next step is for us to go through and build out and talk about all the different hooks that we could leverage that would be great webinar concepts. We get a big library of hooks, and then after we have the hooks, we pick which ones are first to go after, and we drill into that hook to develop out that webinar, get all the context that we need to, and then build the webinar from there. So that's kind of the process. That sound good?
Let's do it.
Perfect. All right. So really the first question that I always like to start with is just tell me more about your business. Tell me more about referrals while you sleep. What is it? What do you do? Who do you do it for? And then from there, we'll pull on some threads. Now, I obviously know the answers to a lot of this, but I still want you to talk it through. Oh, and apparently that one was so good that it caused Charlie to just leave. I am sure he will be back in a second. But while he is gone, hey, look, you guys can see. There we go. You're back again. I had scared you off.
No, I can't tell you any of that. Well, that'll be interesting. Let's see if that keeps happening or not.
Indeed.
And so for the transcript, you want me to tell you a little bit about what I do?
Yeah. Tell me about referrals while you sleep. What is it? What does it do? Who's it geared for? All of that.
Yeah. So referrals while you sleep helps loan officers get realtor referral partners. I was talking to a friend of mine who's a loan officer, and he asked him what his magic wand scenario was. And he said, Charlie, if I could have 10 realtors I really enjoy that I could help do 10 deals a year and market in my sphere of influence, that would be amazing. And So we worked backwards to be able to do that.
Right.
And, you know, what's interesting about me is I spent 13 years as a programmer in my own marketing company. I spent 13 years now as in my own real estate practice, and I was also in a mastermind with some of the top realtors and lenders in North America for the last 10 years. So I really got a great, uh, I've got great knowledge on programming, on real estate, and on what loan officers really want.
Love it.
And referrals while you sleep makes it really easy for loan officers to approach real estate agents by leading with a giving hand legally, according to RESPA, by actually helping them. And what's unique is I'm the only person I know that's a real estate agent helping loan officers because, like, I know what real estate agents actually want. It's not gift cards and Monday calls.
Right.
Realtors want, big, easy, consistent checks and to go on vacation. And this whole system is, it gives real estate agents that through a relationship with a loan officer.
Perfect. Perfect. Okay, so let's dive in. There's going to be more to go down on that pattern. Here we go. Yeah, I don't know why it keeps bouncing him out, but this is interesting. So Charlie, we'll be back in just a second, and we'll continue into this. The next step in the process is for us to talk about more of the business model itself, how that works, all of that. That lets me know where the biggest opportunities are. And some of that. We'll see if it ends up being necessary in this part of the process or not. Again, I'm used to flowing through this more in a sales conversation sort of way, but it still ends up being necessary information for me. So let's see. Charlie should be back in just a second, and we'll go from there. Just a second. There we go. He's back. He's back. All right. This is going to be fun, Charlie.
I switched browsers, so let's see. Let's see if that will work.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Somebody smart once told me something about live demos. But what was it saying? Okay, so we got a good high level understanding of referrals while you sleep. We'll put a pin in this in your mind. We're probably going to need to go back and revisit more tactically or technically what referrals while you sleep does. But before we get into that, tell me more about current numbers in terms of customer counts, revenue, if you're willing to share that on the call. I don't know if you're willing to or not. Typically, I would be asking it on the discovery call. It doesn't necessarily matter for this, but I need to flow through my process to figure out what matters or not for what we really need.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yep. Yeah. So I've been between 40 and 50 clients the last few months, so I'm somewhere around there.
Tell me more about the makeup of those clients. Is now I know over time you've had kind of a variety of different clients. Now we want to focus on the lenders, but
yeah.
tell me, of the clients that you have, how many of them are exactly the right clients? How many of them are realtor clients from lenders? How many of them are realtor clients by themselves? Give me an idea of the makeup, and it doesn't need to be exact, but the general idea.
So I think I've got 5 loan officers. And I've never separated realtors that came from a loan officer from just realtors that came from other places. So that's fascinating. I'll actually look at that.
Yep.
But I've got 5 loan officers. I've got 1 real estate investor. I've got 1 podcaster. I've got a few. I think I've got 2 like just random businesses, and the rest are real estate agents.
If you had to guess approximately what percentage are direct, they are real estate agents who hired you directly versus real estate agents that are using the service as a result of the relationship with the lender, which again, those are of the realtors. Coming direct is actually not ideal. With the lender is the ideal for you, right?
Yeah. My guess is the majority of came from a realtor. Um, there was a group that came directly from by referral only.
Okay.
And there's a few that have been referred by like other clients, but I would say the majority have been referred by real estate agent. I mean, by loan officers.
Okay. So we have approximately 10-ish accounted for from the loan officers, the real estate investors, the podcasters, and the other biz. It's 9, but we'll call it 10 to make the math easier. That leaves us 30 to 40 that are realtors themselves. Would you say it's closer to 90%? Is it how many? If we had to guess, well, put it this way: how many came directly and weren't referrals from the lenders?
I would say, um, I don't know. Let's say it's 50-50.
50-50? Okay.
Yeah. It's probably, I mean, I probably 75% of them, probably the majority of them are through lenders.
Okay. So we'll use those numbers then. Let's do 75-25. And
Yeah.
For sake of running the numbers, do you want to run it off of 40 or 50? Or do you want to split the difference and call it 45?
We can just do 40.
Okay, 40. Perfect. Okay, so of 40, that means that 10 are the non-ideal realtors, and 30. Oh, sorry. No, if we're running off of 40 clients, then that means we have 30. So just a second. So 30 times 0.25. All right, that's 7.5. We'll call it 8. So 8 non-ideal. And then that'd leave 32. Sorry, no, not 32. 30 times 0.75. I keep mixing between what you call it, 40 and
30 and
30.
40.
Yeah, and 22 ideal. Okay, which gives me some information. Does this sound right? That the average loan officer is working with around four realtors.
Yeah, that seems about right.
All right, perfect. That sounds good. Okay, cool. So that gives us some baseline numbers, because right now, let me future pace you a little bit in terms of what I'm thinking through here, right? So I'm seeing that we have our clear direct market that we want to target, which is the loan officers. So what we end up talking about ends up being how can we find and extract processes to find more of those people. That's who we're really focused on. Does that sound right? Or do you see do you see yourself potentially wanting to expand going after podcasters, or expand going after those people? And long term, that could be a thing, but like, where do you want to focus now today on this call?
Yeah, I'm just using the scaling credo, one target market for
Right.
1 year. So loan officers exclusively.
Okay, perfect. So we're not looking then to create content for realtors, because we don't want to go after them directly. We're looking to create content for loan officers. For you as a business, you will have to create content that solves realtor problems, because they ultimately work with you. But in terms of who we're targeting to attract and connect with, we are really focused on loan officers. That sounds correct, right?
Yep, 100%.
Okay, so just focusing on the loan officers. Well, no. With that in mind, tell me more about what the revenues look like associated with the loan officers. What's the business model around that look like? Approximate numbers are fine for this, but what do they pay? What do the realtors pay? Again, approximates. I don't need the exact, but
Yeah. So most loan officers pay about $100 a week
okay. Okay.
after the trial, and then the real estate agents that they refer after their trial, they do the same thing. They pay $100 a week, which is why it's great for loan officers, because a lot of systems, for every realtor they add, it costs them more, but with this, it doesn't.
Okay, perfect. So if the realtor ends up being a good fit, they pay to continue their end of the service themselves, right? Does the $100 a week include their ad spend?
It does not. Yeah, their ad spend is $21 a week, so it ends up being like $121 a week. And
21 a week, and that's for both of them, right? So the loan officers will spend the $21 a week too, right?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And the reason why we weren't factoring that in the price that you said is because that they're literally paying that directly to Facebook. It's not paid to you. It's a cost for them that we want to understand, so we know how this thing is positioned. But it's not revenue to your business. It's
right.
to Facebook. Okay, perfect. That sounds good. Okay, what other questions do I have? So
I am seriously thinking about having a sign-up fee for loan officers.
Okay.
So attracting loan officers, I want, I just want to try that because I've noticed that I've had some loan officers come in and leave because they just like never did anything. They never like connected on the calls. And like it was really a waste of my time and theirs.
Right.
And also for loan officers, it makes sense to give them additional resources up front because I mean, literally, like if they could bring in 10 realtor partners and that adds 200 grand a year to their business, right? Like that's like it's worthwhile. Like with them, like we can really like fast track it and they can start getting results the first and second week. So that's one of the things I got from the mastermind was like, all right, how can I like what can I do to really get them to that 200 grand a year as quickly as possible? And then what's that work?
And tell me more about the setup fee. I get what its purpose is. How will it accomplish that?
It will. I mean, one, it'll let me spend more time, directly with them. It'll also allow me to pay for some more tools for them. Like there's some things we can do, like we can get list of real estate agents locally. We can optimize that reach so we can reach them more places. We might be able to use our buddy Adam's system to call realtors and invite them to the calls. And I think it'll create more commitment. Like I'd rather work with on the lender front, I'd rather work with a few really committed more than just people that are like not.
That makes sense. I mean, so just paying for something in general means that somebody's at least more likely interested. Just fair warning on that. I do know I have actually heard it depends on the market. Like I was literally just on a call where somebody was like, we have people that literally paid for this whole system and it's taking them 2 years to like get us the information. It was a different market. It was healthcare. But what's interesting is I think there's probably still the zone of like the right fit people are the ones that are hungry enough for the growth that they want to do the work. And so I think for you, just knowing your system, there is probably a portion where just like for the lenders that the realtor is actually showing up and doing the work as part of the filter to say this is the right fit or not. There's a portion of that in this too. Although I do think I think you're right that that having some sort of financial investment makes it more likely that they actually step up and do, the minimal amount of work required. That makes sense.
And even more so, just me business wise, being able to do that will let me actually make the service better. Like giving it away for 90 days free is quite the handcuffs.
It's hard. Yeah, it's hard to do. And you can always set it up where like I don't know exactly how you'd set it up, but you could potentially have it be especially when over time you get like a Well, you may not be able to do this to start, but you can make it better in the long run, where after a period of time where you figure out what percentage of people make it through that process, you might be able to have like a really powerful guarantee where it's like, hey, after this setup process, if you feel like it was a big waste of your time, I'll refund you the whole thing or whatever, right? Where
Right.
you know what your percentages are so that you know that you can make that guarantee without it being a problem. To start, you don't know what that percentage is, so you may not make that guarantee because you might need the cash flow. But anyway, okay, that makes sense. Okay, so we're looking at then. Let me just make sure that these numbers are correct. Let me ask another one so that we could quantify this a bit. What is your churn rate? What how long do people stay, and are those numbers different for the realtors or not? Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so the loan officers that use the system never leave.
Okay.
The realtors churn. A few will stay for a while, but mostly they'll churn like in 12 to 18 months.
Okay.
The investor, real estate investor, podcaster, they've stayed for years.
Right.
And then the just like random business people, they usually churn. The ones that I've worked with, they've mostly churned really quickly. But I've got one right now. She creates a ton of content already, and so she's happy as can be. But in general, businesses have churned really quick because they're not creating the content.
Okay. So for sake of numbers, then, see if this sounds fair for how to factor it. For realtors, I'm going to factor it at the 12, and that's realtors who are coming through the lenders, because again, that's who we're targeting for. So I'm going to factor it to the lower end. I'm going to factor it at 12, and then I'm just going to keep the factor for the lenders at 12 as well.
Okay.
So that when we look at our numbers, that's we're doing it on an annualized basis, and annualized feels fair. Like it feels accurate. Yeah. Okay. So the math on that then, a LO is worth 100 times 52. That's 5,200 by themselves. They're working with 4 realtors on average. So that is worth 20,800, right? So those added up together, we have 26,000. Does that sound right?
Yep, that sounds right.
All right, perfect. So here's the reason why I ask for that is that I'm always looking for, realistically, with how this process works, is there enough meat on the bone for the process to be profitable? What's nice is that depending on the assets that you already have at play, sometimes it doesn't take much for it to make sense. You're dealing with a really healthy margin here in terms of what's possible. That's good. And actually, with that in mind, let's talk a little bit about margin of that 2,600. What amount do you need just to keep the service running, and what amount? I wouldn't exactly call it profit, but I would call it kind of that working level that if you have to, that if you're using a portion of it toward marketing or whatever, right? Like that portion. Do you have that number in mind of what portion feels like what you could actually spend and be happy spending it to acquire a customer?
I'd say probably like 20%.
20%. All right. So 20% of 2,600. Run that math real quick. It's 5,200. Okay. So 5,200 to acquire a customer is really like that. That's really solid in terms of being able to do that. Now I know, like you said, right now there's some difficulties because you run the 90-day trial that we know that ultimately we get to this point. But like it takes a bit for it to pay itself back off. So we don't want to pay 5,200 if we can avoid it, but
Right.
it's worthwhile for us to know that the numbers at least add up and make sense. That if we can acquire a loan officer using the system for $5,200, that it is effective for you, right? Like there's a good deal of money to be made on that. So that's good to know. Okay. Okay, perfect. So let me think through what we need to cover next. We cover customer count, we cover customer value, and really, like, effectively, I am going to simplify the way that I think through your customer count as just the loan officers and the realtors that come with them. They are your customers, but I'm thinking of the loan officer as your customer, right?
Yeah. Same.
And so right now we have 5. What are we looking to get that 5 to?
Good question. Let's see. So my goal is to get to 33 grand MRR. I'm at like 9 right now. So that's adding 20. Right? No, it's adding what? 23? 24.
Here, give me just a second. So you want 33 grand MRR. Your current MRR per ideal loan officer is 2166. I just ran that math real quick. So if you want to get to 33, 33 divided by 2166, you need a total of 15. Total of 15 LOs. So you need to add 10.
Yeah.
Is that what you had said? I wasn't paying attention because I was thinking through the math in my head.
Yeah, I think I had 12. Need to add 12.
Okay, perfect. And okay, so we need to add 10 based on these numbers. Now, if our overall average of that was with assuming them working with an average of 4 realtors. When I ran the math, it was actually 4.4 on average is what they're doing, which is good. That means that in reality, the average lender is actually working with more than 4. So your numbers would be better than what I'm showing here.
Yeah. So I've been talking to my current lenders, and one of the bottlenecks was how do I get them more partners, which that's part of the reason I want to sign up, because I've realized like what we're doing is a completely different shift. It's a different way to do things, and so they really need coaching and accountability usually to get rolling. And Mark said that most lenders, they should actually shoot for 20 realtor partners, but if they're at 10 to 15, they'll have the life of their dreams. So that's really what I want to do. I want to help them get to that 15 number.
And what's interesting is that what's cool is, correct me if I'm wrong, and this would be worth discerning with Mark. Is it only the people who are doing this process that are considered the ideal realtor partners, or is who's doing this process a fraction of the overall ideal? So here's what I mean. Your process is a way to consistently and reliably find those people, build a relationship, and anyone who does it consistently will very likely become this person, right? Where they are the ideal. But there are potentially people who are doing enough business, have enough deals to refer, are still ideal realtor partners who they don't connect with this system, right? For whatever reason. And so you still end up using it to find them, build a relationship, and maybe it doesn't last forever that they're doing this system, but they still become one of your 20, right?
Right. Yeah.
Does that sound right?
Yeah. Yeah. My lenders have I know Mark, he's got like 2 or 3 realtors that he started doing this with early on, like an earlier version. And so they turned out, but he's still doing the videos with them, once a quarter or something.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And so they they churned out. Okay, so for him to establish a relationship, he still does the videos with them. They're not using it to get a ton of business themselves, but they're still seeing value out of the relationship. So he's still meeting with them, keeping them alive as ideal partners that way. Okay, that makes sense. That adds up as like how that works. So cool. Awesome. Okay, so we want to go from our 5 to 10. Sorry, our 5 to 15. So we need to add 10. Our key bottleneck for the LOs themselves has been helping them get the partners. That's part of what we're shifting on. That's all connecting. That's making sense. So yeah, 2166 is our average MRR per LO. So getting to the 33 MRR takes the 10. Okay. We're all connected there. Tell me more about who the ideal LO is, and speak to what you found for who the good fits are and who the bad fits are. Who have you found as an LO that is it, like what are the traits in the LOs that are not a good fit for this, and what are the traits of those that are a good fit?
Yeah, so Mark Day, he's the ideal LO. I mean, he's my friend that I talked to originally about this.
Right.
And him, Jerry, Paul, Jessica, the things they have in common, they've been in the business at least 10 years. When they get a deal, when they meet with someone, they can knock it out of the park. Like, they know what to do, they get it done. They usually have some kind of help. So they've got like an LOA, loan officer assistant. They've all been through coaching or in coaching now. That they believe in sphere of influence business. That's a huge thing. They're successful. They don't need this to become successful. They want this because they want to keep growing. Like, they want to, they enjoy business. They enjoy growing. They know that in order to have consistent purchase business, you got to have realtor relationships. They all have really good sphere of influence. So like I said, like, they can survive with their sphere of influence, but they don't want to just survive. Like, they want to thrive. They want to grow. They're really helpful to their real estate agents. Like, they actually like really want to help them. And they're always thinking like, how can I grow my business? How can I help the realtor? Like, Mark's done everything from delivering boxes to, for moving to, we were just talking about like whenever we get under contract, he's going to ship crumble cookies to the clients from both of us. He is taking a group of his friends out on a whitewater rafting trip for a Thursday and Friday just to hang out. He takes them to UWM up in Detroit to see like the back office. And
all of those things are like, he actually has a relationship with the realtors. He's connecting with them. They're not just somebody that he does business with. They're somebody that he actually has like a good relationship with, wants to hang out. Similar to like, you and I, we do business together. We talk business together, but like, we just enjoy each other's company. We want to hang out. We haven't gotten to hang out in person yet, but that, it's not for lack of desire, right? So it's that same sort of thing where it's like you get that blend of, they're both like business colleagues, but also friends, right? That you see that happen. Okay.
Yeah. Like I said, so they've been in business. They want relationships. They're great when they get the deal. They're great with clients. They want to actually help the realtor. They want relationships. They think outside of the box. They're willing to do stuff. They already know how to talk to real estate agents. Like I don't have to coach them on how to talk to a real estate agent. Like, they already know how to do that. This is like their breath of fresh air. They're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. They're somewhat technical, like, in that they can like open up Zoom and hit record and, upload
Right.
it to me. Um, I think those are the main things. Let me think through. Yeah, those are the main things there. So the loan officers that I've talked with that do not do well, it's
Right.
fascinating. I've met some loan officers, their goal, they love helping people that um, need like down payment assistance and first time home buyers. And like that's their favorite thing in the world. It could just be an anecdote, but I've talked with a few of those people, and this is just my assumption, but it seems like those people are really hard to get into houses, and I think they love the hard work so hard, so bad
Right.
that they don't like how simple this could be. Like they're used to um they're used to stressing out all the time. Like this is not a
Right.
good system if you want your hair on fire, if you want to be stressed out. Um, you know, um, that it's not a good fit. A brand new loan officer that has more time than money, or doesn't really know what they're doing. This is not a good fit. Um,
Right.
a loan officer, I had one loan officer. He said, "Charlie, this is amazing, but I'm trying to get out of the business. I don't want to grow." Um, so that's not a good fit.
Right.
So that's kind of been the sweet spot.
I love that. I love that. Okay, so let me see if I can state back to you some of what I'm hearing. So they've been in business typically at least 10 years. Does that feel like that's the minimum? That like 10 years is that point?
That's the lenders that like love me and never leave me. So far, they've had that.
They've all had that 10 years. Okay. Typically they have help, so like an LOA. They have had coaching or involved in coaching. They believe in sphere of influence. They have a good sphere of influence. They work their sphere of influence. They're people that are successful already. There's a fire burning that we're throwing gas on, not getting the fire started. Right? They don't need this for success. We're just, helping accelerate something that's already working. Um, they have and believe in consistent realtor relationships already. Um, they want to be helpful to realtors. They eh, eh, is that a distinction too? So you mentioned not the people who like helping, who want the first time home buyers and that end. Do you think is there a difference of is there a difference in whether they like where they perceive their primary partner as being the real estate agent versus the consumer themselves? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I'd almost say like they're desperate to help the realtor. Like in that, like they don't want to be viewed as a commodity, as like a
Right.
vendor. Like they're really good at what they do. Like they really want a partnership, and they
Okay.
know that that it's uneven. Like they're
Right.
going to get 5 deals, they might be able to refer one, and that like
Right.
really like it's heavy on them. They're like,
Right.
I wish I could legally give more. Like, what can I do to even this out? Like, I don't like that I'm in this. And I don't like that there's some realtors that try to hang that over me. Like, I want to, like I want it to be even. Like, I
What? Tell
want to give.
tell tell me more. They say they know that they're going to get 5 deals. They might be able to refer one. What do you mean? That
So
this
a
is
lender,
the LO feeling this way, right? Like
yeah, yeah.
what do those five
So
deals look
me,
like?
so me as the realtor, I can refer many more buyers to the loan officer than the loan officer can refer to me, because
Right.
it's the reason they want a realtor relationship, because most people go to the realtor first because it's a lot more fun to look at homes than it is to submit paperwork.
Right.
And so, like, the nature of the beast is that, um, and the realtor's out and about, like, it's what we talk about, top of mind. Like,
Right.
I'm out and about, and so the people come to me early. Whereas, so just by like default, I am going to have many more referrals to give Because the other thing is, as the LO, if one of, my clients comes to him first, well, he's going to send them back to me, right? Like, whereas, so they don't have many referrals they can actually give out.
Right.
It's that's why they try to generate leads, but leads are liabilities. That's something that so that's something that Mark, Jerry, Jessica, Paul, all of them said when they heard me say leads are liabilities, they were like, I knew it to be true and I hated it.
Right. Right.
Like, I've never heard anyone say that, and like, it's true. Like, and so that what you want is compliant clients like that. That's like a pillar of the people that like love me and never leave me. They're just like, you're the only one
But
saying it. I wish it wasn't true, but it is.
and that's not something that they knew in advance, but it's something that they've discovered.
Yeah.
And they
Well,
and they may not have even known that it was true until they heard you say it, right? Like meaning
yeah.
like they've experienced it, but it's like you gave them permission to believe what they were experiencing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Like, when they heard it, they were like, I've never thought of that.
right,
That is so true. Like it was
right,
like they entered a brand new universe.
right, right. That makes sense. That makes sense. Okay. Okay. So yeah, I'm understanding who we're going after, what makes them a good fit. We're not looking for beginners. We're not looking for people who thrive on the chaos. We're looking for people that want a good, clean, healthy business. They have a servant oriented mindset. They want to be helpful. They know that there's an imbalance in that lender realtor relationship, so they seek to really uh really they seek to serve that imbalance to try and really be worthy of the business that could come their way, right? To really
Yeah.
bring value to the table on that. Um and finding all
You
those ways
know,
to be helpful.
they want to give more than they receive, and they're
Right.
looking for that. I've never said that
Right.
before, but that's true.
Yeah. That makes sense. That makes sense. Okay. Okay, cool. Cool. Um what right now. Well, yeah, so that helps me understand the target market a bit more. Let's go into um let's look at this. What in the past so yeah, no, there's a couple of things in here. So how many of the right LOs do you think exist? So what's our total market size?
Uh, Off the top of my head, 1,000.
Okay. Do you know how many total LOs there are in general?
I've looked that up. I want to say it's something like 100 something thousand.
Okay, perfect. I mean that adds up. So we're looking at like the top 1%, right?
Yeah.
Um yeah, that makes sense.
Oh,
So
so a couple other things I found. 95% of the time, they're an independent loan officer. I've had
right,
a few that work with banks that are like willing to jump through the hoops, but it's really rare. So it's almost
right.
always an independent loan officer, um, broker.
Okay. Independent loan officer broker. Okay, perfect. Okay, cool. Let's see. Yeah, competitive positioning. Yeah, what else are these people currently trying? Like what are they trying and very specifically, not necessarily so much like what are they trying that's just a complete fail, but what are they trying that's in the right direction? Does that make sense? Um so uh, you know, something that gets them part of the way there, maybe it's not getting them all the way there. That where this helps to shore up the downside. So let me give you just a little bit more context. We don't want to talk necessarily about the things that just as much indicate that they're a bad fit, right? The people who are trying the typical lead generation method that also could be our people who love the chaos, right?
Right. Right.
And we don't want that. So what are some things that they're trying that are kind of in the right vein but still not quite right? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So they've done it all. Right.
Right.
So like my typical lender has probably done it all. They've got some good relationships with realtors now. They've done open houses. The thing is, all of it works. It's just there's an easier way now. Um,
Right. Right.
they have really good dialogues with realtors. They serve the realtors clients really well. They get referrals from their current clients. They close on the time.
Right.
They've done the lunch and learns. I say they've probably done it all. The problem with all of it is it's just time consuming and exhaustive and nothing that you can like really repeat consistently, especially whenever the next refi boom comes, right? I think one of the messages that would be good is, do you have solid systems in place so when the next refi boom comes, you're not abandoning your realtors again because they did
Right.
because they were too busy. Um, and so they've made the Monday calls, the weekly calls. They've invited them to coffee. They've probably paid lead setters on, ran ads to, hey, let's meet for coffee. I want to find out, about your business. What's your goals? Invited them to events. Um, might have
So
hired callers.
tell me more about the lead setters.
So there's I know there's this one girl. She says, pay me $1,200 a month, and I'll get on LinkedIn, and I will reach out to realtors, and I will get them booked on your calendar for a 15-minute call, so you can build a relationship. So you don't have to make the 60 calls. I'll make all the 60 calls and just put the few people on your calendar.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. So they've paid somebody to make it so that their calendar is full of appointments with realtors. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
And then I don't know what this note that I wrote down here. I've also heard of people having like their own call center on behalf of realtors to process their leads.
yeah.
Is that something that you've seen too?
Yeah. They might do that. I know a number of banks have that. They probably said, "Hey, do you have any old leads? I'll follow up on them for you." So they put them in something like Agent Legend or some
Right.
system, or they'll have callers. Do you need gift cards for the open house? The old Friday email. Hey, I'm working this weekend. If you need a second opinion, um, like
Okay.
all the it's spam, but spam works at enough
Right.
volume, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, and especially, I mean, it's not spam in the worst sense of it, right? Like there really is. There like some of these shoot, uh, somebody offering to follow up with your leads for you, like that.
Right.
That's something that somebody would likely take you up on, right? Like there is some good
Yeah.
opportunity there. It's more like you said. The problem is that there's a lot of time required to actually see something actualize out of it, right?
Well,
Um,
and leads are a liability for almost
right,
every realtor. Like
right,
like there's a reason they're not followed up on. It's because the realtor does like the realtor, and this is what's unique for me. The broker, everyone tells the realtor they need leads,
right,
but deep in their heart, they're like, I don't want another lead. I just want big, easy, consistent checks and to go on vacation. Like I'm giving them
right,
freedom to say that. It's like when I had my baby,
right,
and I'm around my friends and I tell all the friends that I know, like, I don't like babies until they're 9 months old. Like there's nothing I can do. Like it gave
right,
my friends the freedom to be like, oh, I'm not alone. Like that's the
right,
way the leads are liabilities. Like I know you don't want leads. Leads suck. You want
right,
compliant clients that easily close.
right,
But no one really knows that.
right. Yeah, well, I I think people know to a degree that they want that. It's more that they don't believe that it's consistently possible, right?
Right.
Like like you said, it's the reason why like team leaders complain about agents like cherry picking, right? Not actually processing all the leads, because what people are doing is they are very conscious of there's an easy opportunity here. That's what I'm going to focus on.
Right.
Rather than doing the grunt work of processing through the through the leads. But yeah. Anyway, okay.
If
Tell
we
me.
wanted hard work, if we wanted hard work, we'd be underwater welders, you know?
Yeah, right. Exactly. Tell me more about what are some things that they've tried that are uniquely indicative of being the right fit, right?
Mm.
So not the things that everyone would have tried, but what aspects or what ways does it show up that show that they're more likely the right fit?
You know, they've probably been a part of like ninja selling coaching or
Okay.
Buffini or by referral only or the core coaching. Um, uh, any of that type of coaching. Um,
Okay.
all of my best clients, all my best lenders have been part of that.
Okay.
Um, maybe BNI, you know, that's not proven out yet, but that's a hypothesis.
Okay.
Um, but those coaching people, like that's the biggest indicator that I know of, because
Okay.
that is relationship based coaching.
And all of those are. So, I mean, I'm familiar with ninja selling. I'm familiar with buy referral only through you. I'm less familiar with Buffini and less familiar with Core, but those are all kind of the same, in that same zone of referral based, relationship based, that sort of idea.
Yeah, yeah. Both Buffini and the core used to work with Joe at Buy Referral Only and went off and
Gotcha.
did the same thing.
Gotcha. Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. Perfect. So messaging and concepts geared toward people already familiar with that is likely a good indicator of fit. Okay. That makes sense. Let's see. Tell me a little bit more about just that I understand potential like landmines lurking. Uh, when the refi booms happen, does that also impact your ability to get people as clients on this?
Uh, so the real estate industry is really interesting in
Okay.
that when I first launched this, it was the refi boom, and the
Right.
lender said, I don't have enough time to build realtor relationships. And they had tons of money. And then when the
Right.
market crashed, they said, I've got tons of time, but I don't have any money.
Right.
Um, and so, like, one of the things that I had to solve for, you know, I said, like, all these other things work, but they just take a ton of time and they're really
Right.
hard to like continue to do. So, like,
Right.
what I've built this for is it doesn't take a ton of time so that you can keep like these realtor relationships even when the refi boom happens. You know,
Right.
like all it takes is the bi-weekly call with your realtor, and you're still helping them. Um,
Right.
and um, so what ended up happening during the refi boom, like I didn't get any calls from lenders because the truth is there's something like everybody wants the easiest deal, and a refi deal is so much easier for a lender. There's no
Right.
realtors involved. There's one
Right.
appraiser. There's not another side negotiating. Like you got one client, you probably already have their docs. Like,
Right.
like, like if I could choose, I would just do refis all day long. Like purchases that are harder. But the truth is, like, it's an up and down. And so what ended up happening, a lot of lenders, so a lot of the realtors I know felt completely abandoned by their lender partners. Um, and like maybe you'd get a call back, right?
Right.
There's like this relief, but they definitely weren't calling us, you know, trying to see how they could add value. Like they're trying to
Right.
keep their head, they're trying to keep their head above the gold, you know, like DuckTales.
Right.
And
Right.
then when it crashed, you know, I talked to, you know, a number of realtors like, oh, we started getting calls from lenders again. Like, now you want me? Now you need me? And, you know, I
Right.
think the smart lenders know that. And they're just like, yeah, the problem is like I was really trying to keep my head above water, and like all the systems that I've done to develop relationships. I mean, coffee, open
Right.
house, working on weekends, um, caravans, like all that just takes a ton of time. If
Right.
you've got a team, you could probably, throw an event once a month or whatnot. But you don't have time for 60 calls, you're,
Right.
um, and, so that like, it should be in the back of their mind if it's not, and it is in the back of some of their mind. Like, all right,
And of our ideal people, it probably is, right? The ones who have been in business for 10 plus years, this isn't the first time that there's been like a refi boom, right? So it
right,
like they've probably experienced the same thing, that there's periods where they get busy, and especially if you speak to that, that will ring true for people, I would bet.
yeah,
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, cool. So I mean, that lets us know, really, for you, when it comes to thinking through this strategy, like, you have time frames that matter. We don't necessarily know when it shifts or changes, but we know that it will at some point. And during those times, it's really hard for you to acquire new customers that are in this vein, right? Because they're in, like, in this reality, we lead with what people want in order to give them what they need. When they're busy with the refis, they don't want more business at the moment. They're, like you said, they're trying to keep their head above water. But if we capture them beforehand and build in that longevity of understanding, then we can probably keep them alive through that, where they know that they're doing what's right. It's easy, it's maintainable. Because they in their ideal world, they would want to maintain the systems that, like, help them keep that relationship alive, keep them helpful, and all of that, right?
yeah, yeah. And when they're busy, they may want this system either to like maintain their current realtor relationships in minimal time or to stay in front of their sphere of influence, but they're not
Right.
going to be as hungry to get new realtor partners, probably, right?
Right.
And one of the
Yeah.
reasons that the ones that like they want to do this now is you want to be in front of your database before the refi boom. Like you want them to see you before the interest rates drop.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Okay. Okay, cool. Let's talk a little bit about where are you currently acquiring customers that's working. Tell me more about that. Where, like, of the five that you've gotten, where have they come from currently?
So four came from my buy referral only mastermind,
Okay.
uh, and one was a friend of one of them. So,
Okay,
so
perfect. So,
it's all been through there. I've
okay,
done.
perfect. I mean, that's still, though, that's a great indication of the buy referral only zone being a good fit. Um, what marketing tactics and strategies have you tried to acquire loan officers so far?
Of course, the 90-day trial. Um,
Okay.
um, Me and Paul, we
So,
talked to.
real
Uh,
quick, let me differentiate. 90-day trial isn't a marketing strategy. It's not an acquisition strategy. It's
that's true.
a
That's true.
it's a conversion strategy, right? It's a
Yeah.
it's a way that you're structuring the offer. So, it's good and useful, but I'm looking for, what are the ways that we've tried to acquire audience rather than acquire sales?
The only, I don't think that I've done anything besides, like I've gone to some lenders I know and said, hey, try it for 90 days. Tell me what you think. Um, I've had a couple people that, like Paul, he brought this to a couple of his lenders, and some of them stayed, some of them didn't. Um,
Right.
uh, the ones that did not use this to get realtor partners. Like,
Mm.
that was the big insight. Um, and then I had um, another. So I've had a few clients say, "This is amazing. I want to sell it to people," and so I've got some referrals from there. Um, but
Of
like, there's
of
been
our ideal people, of the lenders sold it to other lenders. Is that what you're saying?
um, one was a realtor, one was a lender. Yeah.
Okay.
And then one referred a friend of theirs.
Okay. Perfect. Okay, cool. So right now we really are.
Oh, there's been some stuff I've tried. Like I was invited to talk to my uncle's mortgage company, and like I hopped on a Zoom. The person that was going to introduce me did not introduce me, and so I just hopped in cold. They knew nothing about me, and it was terrible. One of the guys texted me afterwards and said, "I'm so sorry about that. That was awful." Uh,
Right.
and so like there's been a couple like people I've talked to, um, but like nothing successful.
Okay. Gotcha. So with Paul was leveraging his relationship with lenders already, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and we tried a few different things. We tried to get paid up front. That did not work. The only thing that did work conversion, um, is the 90-day trial. That was before. I mean, now I've got proof and evidence that it works. Like I
Right.
know how to actually say if you do these things, you're going to get results. Like here's like and to focus it on getting realtor partners before it was just marketing to their sphere of influence. So
Right.
that's the big difference.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Okay. Tell me more about our current assets in terms of if we were going to promote this right now. What do we have? Do we have an email list? Do we have social engagement? And specifically, let's look at it from this standpoint. Email list. We have overall email list, but how many of potentially the right people are in that email list? Right.
Yeah. Um, I've got so I think I've got like 150 like current clients, past clients. There's probably about 30 of those that are lenders. I've got my buy referral only um, like Facebook page, people email friends, like I can call the realtors, ask for their lenders. I've got some lenders in there. Um, and then I've got the BNI. Like I could, there is the list of people from BNI. They don't know me, but they are probably ideal targets.
Right.
Other than that, um, like targeting wise, I think it would be targeting people that have used those coaching, core, ninja selling, by referral only. um, I've got a relationship with um, the folks that run by referral only, and so we've done some promotions before. We've talked about doing others. So that's been something I've been thinking about, because one of the things that I found is like I don't do coaching, and so
Right.
I've referred a lot of the realtors to buy referral only, and I would actually tell I would like to just tell my loan officers, like, you should refer your real estate agents to buy referral only, because it's going to make them better. Like it's going to make them better realtors. uh because like you
That's
got the
awesome.
5 6 7, like get them coaching, like get them to up level who they are. um
Right.
and I don't have direct experience with the others.
That makes sense.
So I've got that relationship. I'm well known in that community.
Tell
um
me more. Tell me more about that relationship. So, what have you done in the past? What opportunities are there in the future? If you had a webinar today that you wanted to promote, um, would they be open to it? What would that look like? Tell me, and what would the opportunity be? What's their list size? Does that make sense?
yeah, so their list size is massive. I mean, they've got uh, a lot of members. I
What's a
think
lot?
somewhere between 800, 1,500, I think somewhere around there. um, Paying
And that's members.
members.
That's currently paying members.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's kind of my guess. They've got, I mean, a, a list of over 100,000. I mean, they've been in the game for 40 years. They're always doing marketing. They've got, and they've got a huge list of past clients, right? Uh, there's not many people that I talk to that are like sphere of influence realtors that haven't been a part of Buy Referral Only at some point. Like it's pretty massive. Um, I could probably connect, thinking about it now. Um, I could probably connect with Dean Jackson, who
Okay.
also is a coach for real estate agents, and he also started with Joe at Powerful Only. And
Right.
I did a one. I mean, he's the one that gave me the 90-day trial idea. So,
Right.
like I've done a 1-to-1 with him, and I've talked with kind of his operations guy. So that's another little second option. But Buy Referral Only, back to them. Um, the realtors that I've got that are not connected to loan officers are all through that. Uh, except for I've had one other realtor that he referred me to some people that he knows. But
Of
like
for by referral only, of the of their people, how many of their people are the right fit for you? They're meaning they're loan officers specifically. So I know they have both, right? So what does that percentage look like, do you think?
I'm just guessing, but let's say or 20%.
20%.
So
Okay. So
yeah, that'd be
so
my
if they
guess.
have over 100,000 people on a list, we think that there's 20,000 that are the lender's loan officers.
That'd be my
And
guess.
and you said 800 to 1,500 members. I'm just going to round it to 1,000 to make the
Yeah,
net math easy. So if it's 1,000 members, then around 200 of those are loan officers.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So there's definitely potentially opportunity there. So the numbers that I've seen is that we're looking at about 3% of the total list size uh, registers for the webinar itself. So 3% of 20,000 is 600. So that's 600 people registering for the webinar, and in my experience, it's every time. So if we promoted weekly, it's 600 people each time, not just
Gotcha.
not just total. So and often there's different people that registered for different weeks and different topics, right? Okay, so 600 people registering. Um I don't know what percentage of those people would be current clients or not. I haven't done my math on that end, but 600 people. And then here's the way the rest of the math works. So that's the 3% of that list size. Of those people, 33% will show up. So these are all
200.
these are our baseline metrics. So yeah, 200. 200 people attend or attendees. And then typically I look at 15% convert to our not necessarily paying clients, but they convert to whatever the offer on the webinar is. And most often that's either a discovery call, maybe a low ticket product, that sort of thing. So 50% of the 200 is 30. So let's say it was a discovery call, 15% converting to that's 30 calls. Of those, if you're doing bad, then and I don't know, bad isn't exactly the right word, but if it let's say if it's not well aligned, or if you're not set up to convert well, 10% is pretty doable. So we'd be looking at 3 of those converting, right?
Gotcha.
Um, if you're doing the range is going to be down to 10%, up to, I mean, again, assuming that it's just not complete waste of time, but in the reasonable range, down to 10%, up to about 50%. So that's 3 to 15 that take you up on your next step. And again, there's the how well does it convert? So that would probably be 3 to 15 taking you up on your 90-day trial.
Right.
How often do you think you could run a webinar with them?
That's a good question. I should reach out to them. I would. I would think if we built it out where I'm like, hey, look, here's the goal is like I've been sending you a lot of realtors. Like
Right.
I just want part of my system to be like the realtors get a 90-day trial to my stuff and like like we tell them to sign up for you too. Like we're a 1-2 punch, you know. Um,
Well, well, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. We're looking to target the lenders. So
right.
why are we talking about realtors on that? Tell me how that connects through to you.
So the lenders bring on realtors, right?
Right.
And I'm telling my lenders, hey, all the realtors you like as you like help them grow, you should encourage them to sign up for the 30-day by referral only trial too.
Perfect. Perfect. Okay. So what you're saying is, hey, here's part of how this is in alignment for you by referral only. When I get to promote to your list, part of what's going to happen is I'm going to promote to those people that any of the realtors that they bring in should also come to you, right? So by
Yeah.
letting me promote to your lenders, I am showing them how they need to promote you as well. So I'm helping you create salespeople.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Um, yeah. So I like if you how many promotions have you done with them? What kinds of promotions have you done already?
So Paul did the promotions before. I might have been
Okay.
on one of those calls because so they've got a specific lender group.
Okay.
Um, so that part of it is they all knew Paul, which makes it really easy. Um,
Right.
you know, um, and I think we did 1 or 2 calls with that and got them on a second call, and we got some people signed up. Um, and we but none of them ended up like recruiting, or you like none of them successfully got any realtors on boarded. We didn't have that dialed in like we do now. And but I don't know, I think we had maybe like 12 on the call, and I think maybe we got like, I don't remember the exact numbers, but 4 or 5 to sign up for the 90-day trial, and like 60% of them converted for a year, and then they canceled.
So 12 on call, 4 to 5 converted onto the 90-day trial. Then how many signed up again?
Uh, let's say 5 of them signed up for the trial and 3 of them converted into paying customers for like a year.
But none of those ended up becoming the ones that actually brought on the realtor partners, is what you're saying.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you had to guess why do you think was it just because you didn't put it in their mind to use it for realtor partners? Do you think if you would have, they would have, or do you think the webinar wasn't the right fit, or the call wasn't the right fit to attract them for the right reasons, or what do you think?
This was 2 years ago.
Right.
And so we didn't we didn't have the system that we do now.
Right.
So now it's, hey, you reach out to your realtors and say, I'd like to interview you for,
Right.
and share it with my sphere of influence. Then you offer
Right.
them the 90-day trial. You don't have to actually send them to me. You just do the calls now, and they either sign up or they don't. It's a whole lot easier. So it used to be like, so that I think part of it, that group of people, they've got good sphere of influence. It was, I mean, it's a complete shift, and it was harder then, you know.
Yeah,
Um,
and part of what you're doing too is like you're immediately giving them an excuse to make a good connection to their sphere versus their sphere connecting to you. While it's not a bad connection, it's not it, really it's one of the core problems that I try and solve with how I do webinars, which is in order for them to get the result from meeting with you, they had to convert to the next step. right? So
Right.
it's the core problem of, there are some webinars where, yeah, they provide value, but the value that they provide is once you've bought, right?
Right.
So they show you why it's so important to buy, and then if you buy, you get the rest of the value, but you don't feel like it was valuable unless you buy. And so they walk away from that experience where most people don't buy, so most people don't feel like it was valuable, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
what you've solved is you've given them a system where they give value to everyone, and the ones who will buy naturally come out of that. And so so you've created a system where it makes more sense for them to leverage what you're doing as part of their process, because it's what they want anyway. They want the conversations. You've done it in a smart
Right.
way where those conversations naturally result in the right people ascending into the ideal referral partners, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. So you think if structured, like if structured with this new reality in mind and what you're guiding people to and all of that, that it would more likely result in the right lenders coming out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so. Because now I can tell them, go to your title rep, say, hey, can you connect me with 3 realtors that do 2 million buy side? Um, they can call their top 10 in their sphere and say, hey, who's the coolest realtor you know? They can call their top realtor, say who's there, and say, because I'm wanting to interview them for a show called Top Realtors in Utah. So like that's like they've got a number of people now.
Right.
It's one call. They never have to introduce them to me at all.
Right.
So it's much easier now.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Also,
I mean,
also my filter is better. Like this is only good for you if you're already pursuing realtors and you want because I think some of the people like they were comfortable and they never wanted to do that.
right. Yeah, that makes sense. And so, I mean, and that is part of what I found too, is that this vein of leveraging webinars, the topic that you lead with makes a really big difference for who you're attracting, right? And so really part of what you look for is how can I select for the topics that are most likely to already find the people who are interested in what I'm doing, right? Like
Yeah.
by its very nature. So yeah, I mean, looking at this, there's definitely, for you with that partnership especially, so you have one that you feel pretty confident you'd be able to leverage, right?
Hey,
And then
can I say something to the transcript right now? I just had this
yeah,
really
go ahead.
cool idea. So I could give my lenders a webinar called, how to make 250 grand a year working only 10 hours a week. And they can share that with their realtors. In that little presentation, there can be like a 30-second snippet of me talking to them. And when I onboard a loan officer, me and them can actually do a duo video where they're interviewing me and I'm telling them the whole story. So they can actually tell the realtors on the webinar, hey, if you want to watch the whole story, you can go here or let me know and I'll send it to you. So that
Right,
way, the realtors can like hear my like that would be a really cool positioning. The lender would be interviewing me. It would be
right,
us talking, give them a reason for a duo video, another reason that I want, sign up fee so that I can have time to do that. Um, so anyway, sorry. I wanted to say that while it came to me.
yeah, makes sense. So yeah, I mean, in terms of potential opportunity, there's definitely some solid potential. So where where uh, where you are currently lacking in terms of what would typically be a good fit for where the strategy fits is you don't already have a massive list to promote to, but you kind of do, right? You kind of do, for sake of you have uh a a partner that you could run content to, that we feel pretty confident that would work, that would happen, that would be able to be done at least once, probably more often. So things that still need assessed, you still need to be able to have clarity on how often you can promote to them to really get full clarity on those numbers. Um, there's potentially opportunity in tracking down other places where you think have the same benefit, the same desire to be able to say, hey, I'd love, I've got this opportunity, I'd love to do this model with you. That may not come immediately. That may be more of a, once you've proven it out with BRO, that you could take that to somebody else and say, hey, here's the results that we're getting. I'd love to adapt this for you and work with you on this too. And here's what you get out of it. Right. And then over time, you start to build up your own list that you could, again, do the same sort of marketing back to yourself. Do you currently have ad budget available to run towards something like this? And if so, what amount would that be? So so aside from going after those, is there ad budget available that you would feel confident using to get people to build your list to get onto content like this?
I mean, I could probably make that happen. What do you think I would need?
So in terms of the results, let me reverse engineer it real quick. So if we were going to have one deal to get one deal, which for you is worth, well, we don't want to spend more than 5,200, right? That's the number that we figured out. Yeah, 5,200. Yeah. So one deal, we need to make sure that we're spending 5,200 or less, ideally a lot less. One deal, let's say we're getting the 10% conversion rate. 10% conversion rate means that we have 10 people book discovery calls, right? So to get 10 people booking discovery calls, we need 10 divided by 0.5 is 67. 67 people attending a webinar. Okay. If 67 people are attending, we need 203 people to register. To get 203 people to register, over time, I've been able to get the registration cost down to about $15 a registration. So over time, 203 times 15 is about 3,045 to get those right numbers. Okay. To start, it's not typically that low. To start, it's closer to the after running a few of these webinars, you tend to find one that could get you closer to that 25 to 50 a registration. Let's run it at 50. So 50 times 203. I mean, that doesn't get us our numbers. So if it's 50, that's 10,150 to get those numbers. If it's down to 25, then we hit our number at 5,075, right? To be able to acquire at that cost. So that would be per webinar, but the idea is really it's a question of how quickly you could spend that amount to get enough people on it to get those results, right? And the idea would be that if we're paying to acquire the audience in that way, that we're looking at we need to be able to acquire the leads at $25 a registration or less, really, to make the numbers work here. That's doable, but the question is how quickly or how long you can afford to spend that in order to generate that. And that's at least with my current numbers. It's possible that we'd run it and figure out when we set the budget right, when we have the copy right, that we could do it for drastically cheaper. But at least at my current numbers, that's what I've seen. So yeah, you'd be looking. It's less per. It's less per month, per week, or any of that. It's more per result, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so, however quickly you spend it dictates how quickly you get to the result. Realistically, to start, I would say that's more in the monthly realm. And so what you're not promoting off of that. You're not typically promoting to a live webinar. You're promoting to an evergreen and then getting the results off of that. And then over time you're building your list and you get live registrations off of your list. You can get live registrations from the ad spend. I've just found it's more hectic to try and use ads to drive to a live webinar. Because you have to do the setup and all of that. And it's just, when you have the time crunch on it, at least for me and what I've done, it's I'm more so looking for what are the evergreen ways that I could set up where the ads just keep running and getting the result. That's more what I'm talking about here.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So I mean, so for you in terms of the opportunities that I see, there's not a ton of opportunity right now off of your list itself. The numbers just wouldn't as likely add up. It doesn't mean it's not worthwhile to promote to your list and see who comes on there. But in terms of like realistically running this play, if you just had your list as the opportunity, there probably isn't much.
Right.
Likely deals to come off of it. For sake of the ad budget portion is probably more of a, well, I don't know. You haven't told me. Does spending $5,000 to acquire one customer, does that feel doable right now?
I don't think so, because we're talking about a 12-month payback, really, right?
Right.
And my coach, SaaS Academy, like their goal is like you really need to be at a 90-day payback,
right?
Right. So like it would almost be better to just run an ad directly to the free trial.
Right.
Right. Like, I mean, I could probably spend $1,000 and get quite a few people on a free trial.
Right.
And some of those would convert.
Right.
But and so yeah, I don't think that would work. But I also think the partner stuff would probably make a lot of sense. Like that's
right.
Like you got by referral only, probably some other people that I could talk to.
Right.
Probably more the thing, and then grow the list, and then it's easier, right?
Right. Because you can promote your list as much as you want, right? And especially when you're growing it at 600 a pop, I mean, it starts to become that you can just start marketing to your list pretty quick where the numbers make sense, right? So, I mean, for sake of these numbers, if you need 203 to register, what is 203 divided by 3%? That's a list of about 6,700, about 6,800. So you get to a list of 6,800, and then every time you run a webinar, you're gonna potentially get the number of people registered that equate to the numbers that get you what you need off of it, right? So and if you got 600 that are registering off of something else, get that 6,000. It's not always going to be 100% new people. So like the longer you do it, the slower the list will grow, I think.
Right.
But you start getting to the point where you have the list as your own asset to promote to. And I think you're right.
That makes sense.
I think there's potentially, like, for sake of where ad spend fits for you, I feel like it's probably more in the zone of you find like a micro offer or a like a mid-ticket offer that's self-liquidating, so that it's immediately paying for itself. So you're acquiring the audience. You're acquiring the audience at a self-liquidated cost, and you're not relying on this conversion in order for it to pay for itself.
Yeah.
So I like, that's probably what I'd strategically, if I was going to look at like where does ad spend come in, I would look at it from that perspective of saying, how can I, like you said, instead of promoting directly to the trial or even promoting directly to the webinar, I would probably be promoting directly to, $700 to $200 offer that you get enough of the conversions off of it that you're acquiring the list practically for free, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's probably what I'd look at there. Okay, let me see if there's any other questions. I know we're at the end of our time.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see if there's anything else that we would need to cover that lets me know. We got a good idea of partnerships. So I mean, for you, this is one of the next questions. Do you have any more time?
I've got until top of the hour.
Okay. So yeah, let's ask. Let me ask a couple more questions. So for you, what are your biggest bottlenecks personally in terms of executing on your growth strategies in general? For you personally, do you see webinars as being a big opportunity? Do you see it as a likely fit in terms of like what you want to do and why? Tell me more about that.
Yeah. So I was, I don't know if I told you, I hired a new coach while I was in New Orleans. Of course I did.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And
You've got a reputation.
I gotta uphold it. I've got to uphold it. And he's built and sold a SaaS, and we're gonna work, in a group with them. And so I told him, I was like, look, like I don't want to be on calls all day.
Right,
I like. So one, like I am willing to sell this because
right.
like this is like it's worth it.
Oh,
Like it is
right,
recurring. But I was like, what should I do? He said, man, educate, like, do webinars, educate. And
right,
I mean, I mean, I like that. That's what makes sense to me. Like there was 4 lunch and learns. This guy's was the best. He started off, uh, hey, I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm going to give you all the slides. There's no opt-in. Like, I'm just going to give you my best stuff. And at the end, he said, hey, if you, want more info about, me, come see me at the booth. And he's the
right.
guy that I gave money to because he just gave, right? And that's who I am, right? So, like I'm never going to stop learning. I'm never going to stop having new ideas. I'm never going to stop teaching. This
Right.
is like brand new ideas. Like a lot of people have never heard it before. Um, when I asked him, he's like, "Yeah, just educate." 'Em." And so I think this, like, that makes sense. Like, and I've got software. Like, I'll tell you everything to do. I know
Right.
I'm the easy button. Like it's a
Right.
no brainer. Um, so I love, and to be able to go to other partners, like I love thought of growing through partners. And so, if I can go to other people with ready-made webinars,
Right.
like it'd be really cool to do that. So um
Yeah,
um
that makes sense. What right now? So you like it as a strategy. What right now would you perceive as like the difficulty? What would hold you back from being successful with it? What what would slow you down, or what would hold you back?
what would hold me back from doing it now? You're good at being organized and like putting
Okay.
stuff into a container. Um and and finishing stuff. You're good at
Right.
finishing stuff, completing stuff.
Right.
So I mean, for me, it's probably having a finisher, right?
That makes sense. So for you, what like tell me a little bit more. What would it look like? What would it look like if we weren't working together to help you to complete it? What would your results look like? What would be the difference?
Um, it would be 80% done, and I'd feel okay with it.
Okay. And what do you think the difference between feeling okay with it versus the way that we would work together? What would that look like?
Uh, to me, there's a difference between like feeling okay with it and feeling like, this is locked in. This is great. Like I feel really good going to anyone that I know and say, look, I've got a killer training. Um,
That makes sense. And do you think so that difference in feeling like this is good enough for me to do kind of this specific one, this next step, Do you think like does that look like when we get it to this point of the finish line that it unlocks speed for you to do the second, third, and fourth? Does that make sense? Is that where you're feeling like it would help, where you've got it locked in so you know that you could just execute on it over and over again?
Yeah, like I think like I could then take it to like the ninja selling people or the Buffini, I don't know. Like I could take it to anyone and be like, look, I've got this, here's the results, here's how it's valuable on its
Right.
own, right? I feel like I'd feel comfortable, running it, testing it as an ad,
Right.
or like I could just run it over and over then. Like I think.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah. Okay, cool. I think so. And I mean, again, this is kind of like this is the mock process for this, right? So
Yeah.
for me, this is literally like what I look for and what I'm doing in terms of, does it make sense to do the next step, right? Does it make sense to go
Right.
through and dive into it? Is I'm assessing, do you have a need that I solve, right? Do you have
Right.
demand? Now it's different because you and I will work together on this because of how we work together. But this would be the point for me where I'd be like, well, yeah, all right, I think I can help you get this result, right? I think I can help you do this because what it would look like is that we'd hop on another call and I'd hear a lot more about what specifically you're doing to help people. We dive
Hmm.
into what's working, how it's working, what has worked, what some of your success stories look like, where they've come from, what are those people doing to be successful, and we'd extract out really a library of all the different things that you can be doing over the next 12 months or so to execute on this strategy, right? To have all of the ideas for what it would look like to say, here are the topics and the hooks that I could leverage that naturally show somebody how, how you provide value and you lead with value in order to then have them naturally understand where you fit in and how you can help. And yeah, that would be the next step. And then I'd see if you want to do a strategy session. And so that
Nice.
strategy session would work where I'd let people know, hey, here's the cost.
Yeah.
If you want to do it, there's going to be three potential outcomes. One is that you get enough information that you feel excited to be able to execute on this your own, right? That either you or your team, you feel like you could take it and run with it from there. You have a lot of clarity on exactly what to execute on. And that's awesome. That's a fantastic outcome. Number two is that you decide, you know what, Zach, I'd really like you to help me on this. I'd like you to help me take this and develop this out further. And that's awesome outcome too. I love to help people, and I'd quote you on the spot what it would look like to help you. And the third outcome, I don't think this outcome is very likely because we just spent about 2 hours talking about all of this. And that's that you figure out that it's a big old waste of your time. You got no value out of it. And at that point, I refund you the money and we part as friends. I don't think that's likely, but those are the three potential outcomes. So if you want to do that, then we'd book the call and we do that right now. But
That's a no-brainer.
there you go. There you go.
I love that.
So that would be the next step of the process. So now for me, like kind of revealing behind the curtain, this is one of those processes where I literally I'm assessing, I'm getting clarity. I need to know if I could help and what those directions are, right? And so I see lots of opportunity. We've established that there's an opportunity for like who we promote to, where we promote, that audience exists. There's enough reality in those numbers. We feel like we could do it. We've established that you actually have a desire and a need to execute on this. Now you already know like what I do and all of that. I've gotten good understanding of what we didn't do is we didn't dive into the exact specifics of how referrals while you sleep works. We didn't have the time to go into that. Part of why I didn't is because I already know. So I didn't need to. We would dive into that more in the next one so I could get in the transcript. But we clarified that there's an opportunity that for me, I could tell that you like, I would be able to tell that you know what you're doing for sake of the number of clients that you already have, that it's worked repeatedly, that you've been able to work with people for that long, I have a high degree of confidence that this isn't a flash in the pan sort of thing, that we have people who are excited about working with you. We have stories that we can extract, all of that. Yeah. So we have clarity there.
I'm here, flash in the pan.
Exactly. But yeah, so then what I'll do at this point is that I have an AI framework where I take the transcript from this call and I put it into a document that extracts out the overall all of the things that we talked about into a condensed format, and starts to fill out some of those ideas around what the strategy looks like, what the go forward looks like, all of that around, okay, here's what we need to execute on. Now our next step is to figure out, here are all the ways that we could go in and we could explore by two main frameworks, where we're either talking about the solve step 1, solve step 2, or we're talking about the slow lane versus fast lane. And sometimes we're doing both. But you know what those things are. We haven't talked about those. I would often talk about and explain what those are. But we would extract what those would look like, and we'd figure out where are these clear opportunities, where we see some opportunity, and put together some hooks that were like, yeah, I feel like I could confidently deliver on this, and it would provide value while naturally creating demand for what I do. And yeah, so that would be the next step in the process of how we do this. Does that make sense?
That's awesome. Yeah. I love seeing this evolution of what you're doing in your offer, because this is how we met 5 years ago.
Right.
You helped me with the first webinar, and very successful. My referrals while you sleep and we talked about it, it's evolved so much, and gotten better, and your system's gotten so much better. Like, it's not just one now; it's a series, and so that's thanks for let me be your guinea pig today, so that everyone can see this.
Yeah, and the key for the series part isn't necessarily that it's the key for the series is by looking at all the things that you could create content around, you also get clarity on where to start, right? By being able to say, well, of these, I feel like this is the best direction, so that when you get into it, you feel confident in saying, we've really thought through some options, and this feels really strong, and we understand why, because we've had some things to compare it against. But then the other thing is to know and understand, even with that, there's still some guesswork in seeing what the market actually does. And so you typically have to do a few of these to figure out what really feels in alignment, what's getting people activated, and where does it fit in your funnel and all that. So it makes a big difference. But yeah, having it all laid out, it makes the process where you do enough work up at the front to feel like you have a path to keep going without getting too burned out in the process. So yeah, what for you stands out? Like, do you feel like the discovery call, like, is there enough meat on the bone there that you feel like it's valuable in terms of clarity and having some ideas of at least clarity for yourself and where and why this strategy makes sense or doesn't make sense?
Yeah, and I'll answer this, then I've got to go. Like, I had insights talking, so that was cool. You listened well and repeated it back to me, and you helped kind of flesh stuff out. And I like that you were listening to see what I needed to see how to point me in the right direction, whether it was you or someone else.
Right.
Like, that was one of my insights from the mastermind was, really, as the salesperson, I'm helping you be the buyer to buy whichever solution you need, whether it's me or not. And so, I love how you were qualifying it. You never sold it. Like, you were literally like, I don't like that. That was really helpful. And then, of course, the insights. So
love it. Well, cool. Yeah,
awesome.
On the next one, we'll dive into building out the hooks, but we got some clarity on if this is the right strategy. That gets me the documentation. We go from there.
Perfect. All right. Thank you. See you guys.